This video. So what we're going to be doing today is just showing you how you can create pivot tables in paiyroll and actually reuse those reports in the future. So what you need to do is just go and tap on MyAnalytics, and so when you get to the MyAnalytics view you just need to pick the company in question, in this case Advanced Mechanics. Now normally this will be set up, but you've got a choice. You can use ODS or you can use XLSX. So let's say we want to use Excel here. The date range probably needs to just be broad enough to capture all the data you want. Remember, you can capture more data than is required. And if there are any extra pay definitions that you might need, you can pop them in here. So in this case, we want to also pick up student loan, although we normally don't have to do any of this. And all we do is tap the download button, and that will actually create a download finance journal for us. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare a brand new report once to be used for future pay runs. So we open this finance journal and it looks a bit complicated, but don't worry about that. If I just zoom out, you'll kind of see the structure. It's a big data table and each row is basically one piece of data from a particular pay run. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and click on the Insert Pivot Table button. Now what I'm now going to do is zoom in so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So what it's done is it's actually selected all the visible cells. Excel's trying to be a bit clever and go from $A1 to $BQ115. But what we want to do is actually just pick all the columns from A to Q, because there's going to be more rows added in the future. So it's a really important step, this one. So we'll select all those rows, and that's now inserted a new sheet for us, which is the one where we're ready to do our query. So let's actually go and actually do a live query, a typical query. Now this will vary of course, but in this particular case we're going to start with actual T, which is the date of the pay run, and we'll drag that over to the rows. What we'll then do is we'll then pick the employees, and they normally get again popped in values, but we're going to actually put them under the pay run date, and you'll see why in a moment. And then the values that we actually want to pick for this particular report are going to be gross pay, so that actually pops into the right place, which is good. And we also want to pick the employer NIC, and then the final one we'd like to pick is the pension, and that's done now. So you can now see we've got a nice report arranged by the date of the pay run and all the employees and their amounts. Now of course we don't want all those pay run dates, so we're just going to pick a couple of them there, and there you can see we pretty much have the report that we want. Now you'll notice there's a couple of extra spurious test employees in there that we can have in the system, so let me show you how those can be filtered out. So we pick test employee, and we're going to drag that up into the filter section. So the top of the pivot table there, we can actually just filter out test employees, so we only have real employees. So this is actually the report that we want for the future, and so this is the one we're actually going to keep. So in order to keep this, we're now going to go down to the sheet, and we're going to move it into a new book, and this is going to be the new workbook. This is basically going to be our new report template. So here is the new book, and what we'll now do is we will save that, and this is going to be our report template going forward. So this is the one we'll open, the monthly report. We're going to open this every month, and this is the one we're actually going to use. So we'll close that, and very importantly we'll close that data table, and we ought to not save that either. Okay, so that's the preparation step. Now let's assume we need a new pay run, and we're going to refresh that report with fresh data. So we're on the new pay run, and so we download a new data table, just like we did before. Okay, so we download it and we open it, but we don't actually use it, we just leave it open. Now, you shouldn't actually have to open this file, you just need it on your computer. But we have noticed with versions of Excel on both Windows and Mac, there's a bug that Excel actually wants this file open rather than just lying on the desktop or somewhere on your system closed. So you open this file but don't do anything with it. And so what we're now going to do is we're going to go and open our report. So remember, the report is on the front and the data table is behind. and the report pulls data from the data table. So the first thing you'll notice is up along the top where there's this yellow bar that says there's external data. And so it's just warning you that this spreadsheet on the front is going to be pulling data from the back, so we want to enable that content. Now, in order to actually refresh the data, we just go to Data and we refresh all, and that will actually pull in all the new data from that report into the report that we want. And so let's assume that we've done a new pay run and there's now an extra day of pay run that we want to add on there, and so simply we can now pick that extra date. And so we pick that date, and instead of just having the 2 particular months that we had before, we now actually have the 3 months in the table. And that's it. So that's how you create a new report in Pivot Table, a new Pivot Table report, and that's how you refresh it on each of the pay runs.